The latest. Thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. Africans, always we say we are the ones that need to respect ourselves and respect our sovereignty and also fight for our sovereignty, because people do not see us to be equal. And if we are truly looking for that equal treatment, we need to do our homework well. But first of all, fighting for our own sovereignty, because people still think that the African is not sovereign. So they have to always decide what they think is best for us. The president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, responded to the post-G20 summit that happened. A lot happened. And according to him, we need to be respected. We need to have this equal treatment. According to him, there are some people who still don't see the African to be equal. And even before, now, when they were even having something to do, Africans are not invited because we have been colonized by them. And that treatment is still what is happening even till the day that we claim we have our own sovereignty.
We have become democracies, particularly in the global south. We were fed the message that you need to have rule of law. You need to embrace values. You need to have good governance. But in recent times, we've seen how those who were trying to teach us those laws and those values are the very ones who are violating all those values, who are destroying those very values. And we ask ourselves, what are we expected to do now? Because, yes, we are developing our economies. We are sovereign countries, and we need to be treated as equals. Our sovereignty needs to be respected. We need to sit around the table as equals and having the same share of knowledge, the same share of capability, without any bullying the other, without any
Henry Foy from the Financial Times. President Ramaphosa, to you, there's reports in your own state media that Donald Trump's administration now does want to take part in the G20. Can you confirm whether they're true or not? And related, you talked about predictable, reliable partners. Do you think that the EU has demonstrated it is now more of a reliable, predictable partner than the US for South Africa and for other G20 nations? And to the two EU presidents, related to that, you've talked about how Trump's presidency and the tariff war has made the EU look for new friends that it wasn't working close with in the past. Has the way Trump has dealt with the G20, and particularly South Africa, helped make deals like today happen, which, as you said, have come together in the last 8 months only? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. President.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Let's be seated, please. Thank you, Minister Pakstow, Program Director, B20 co-chairs, Ms. Nonkululeko Nyembezi and Mr. Mpolisi Gojo, B20 South African Sherpa, Mr. Kes Kovadia, Minister of International Relations, and Minister of Finance, Minister of Trade, Minister of International Relations and Cooperation is called Ronald Lamola, and the Minister of Finance, Godongwane, AU and EU commissioners, members of the local Business Advisory Council, members of the International Business Advocacy Council, and members of the International Business Advocacy Caucus, ambassadors and high commissioners here present, and B20 Sherpas and delegates, and distinguished guests and friends. It's a real joy to be amongst you here. I've made it a bit of a habit these days that as I walk into meetings, I want to read the audience and test the temperature of the audience. And as I walk in, particularly when I have to be amongst business people, as I enter, I immediately have a sense that there is a wonderful smell of money. But then that is often accompanied by another element, which is, as I've just come back from this few minutes ago with Minister Lamola and Godongwane, we've just come back from the B20 or G20 Social Summit. Now, as I walked in, there was a big round of applause, and people were like saying, "President, President, President," with great love and affection. So as I walked in here, there was silence. Absolute silence. No. Rather than see it as a negative, I told myself that, gee, I'm at the right place here. Because, as I say, I read my audience, and as you didn't applaud, I was taking my steps, walking alongside some of your colleagues, looking at their faces, seeing how they are responding to this moment. But as I got to the front, you applauded, which told me that there is real weighty money here. It is indeed a great honor to address you all, to address a gathering of business people from across the globe who, by your presence here, have affirmed your commitment to and support for our G20 process, but also indirectly to support a better Africa and a better world. This G20, as you well know, is meeting for the very first time on African soil, and we as South Africa are truly honored and privileged to be the first country on the continent to be hosting the G20. From every corner of the earth, people are returning to this place, the cradle of humanity, to reflect on the state of our world and to chart a way forward to a more inclusive and a more prosperous and more sustainable future, which through your presence I'd like to believe you have been doing, returning to where we all originated, and to come and draw from the wisdom that resides in this continent. This is a moment of great significance for our continent. It is also a moment of great opportunity, I'd like to believe. It is an opportunity for Africa to assert itself and to assert its place in global affairs. When we accepted the presidency of the G20, we immediately said that we are going to focus on Africa and get the world to start looking at Africa and its great potential, to affirm its position as a leader of economic growth and social progress. It is in this continent that we believe the great focus should be. Africa has some of the fastest growing economies in the world. It has the youngest population, and it is endowed with abundant resources, natural resources and human capital. It is also endowed with critical minerals that will build the economy of the future, and with the fertile lands that can feed the world, as well as having the sun and the wind that will power revolution in energy. The African Continental Free Trade Area provides an unprecedented opportunity to harness these resources for the good of the people of the continent. It promises a new era of trade, of investment across the borders that had so far been held back. The Africa Continental Free Trade Area promises greater alignment of rules, of regulations, of standards, as well as of laws. It promises the seamless movement of goods and the provision of services across a market of 1.4 billion people. As the work done by the B20 has made clear, Africa has the potential to be the next frontier of global production, commerce, as well as innovation. And we will call on the global community to embrace Africa's rise. Some years ago, the front page of The Economist magazine depicted Africa as a continent that is lost, that is backwards, but Africa is on the rise. It is Africa that seeks to be more prosperous, and by being prosperous, we'd like to believe that we therefore will have a more prosperous world. An Africa that is at peace, that is stable, that is well-governed, and that has the means to meet the needs of its people, makes for a better world. If the G20 is to realize its mission of fostering a more stable and prosperous world, a mission which was its original mission, then Africa's growth and development must be made a priority. This calls for investment in infrastructure and industry. It calls for investment in the people of this continent, especially the young people. It calls for technology to be spread around. It calls for a massive increase in finance for climate action and a just transition for African economies. Now, Africa's growth and development calls for a more deliberate and more decisive action towards debt sustainability on the African continent. Many African countries are unable to invest in their people. They are unable to invest in infrastructure or in productive activity because of the cost of servicing their debt. Removing their burden of debt will unleash the potential of many African economies and the contribution that they can make to global growth. This task has been bolstered in recent days by the release of the report of the Africa Expert Panel that is chaired by former South African Finance Minister Trevor Manuel, whom we asked to corral a number of experts, both on our continent and outside of our continent. The panel's report highlights the high cost of capital that is faced by African countries, which are higher than in other regions with similar fundamentals. It recommends measures to mobilize significantly more concessional funding from multilateral development banks and African trade and finance institutions. The report says that we need to address biased risk perceptions of Africa by mandating greater transparency and accountability from credit rating organizations or agencies. Taken together, the detailed recommendation of the expert panel could create the conditions for an investment boom on our continent. Through its deliberations over the past year, the B20 has done much to reinforce the value of Africa's rise, and it has outlined in detail the actions that need to be taken, as well as the conditions that need to be met to realize the rise of the continent that I'm talking about. The B20 has done much to position business as a force for progress. The B20 could not have been clearer. The global business community is prepared, is willing, and able to drive inclusive growth, sustainable growth, and resilient growth as well. The global business community has made itself a reliable partner, keen to work with governments, with multilateral bodies, with social partners, and with communities in pursuit of the common good. Now, I say this advisedly, as we here in South Africa have developed a culture and a good practice of working together with business, where we build a partnership, or we have built a partnership that is somewhat institutionalized, and where we work together. And I must say that we have found business to be very supportive, to be keen, to help us address the challenges that our country faces. But in the course of that, we've also, as a government, been able to build partnerships with labor, with civil society, and we found this to be really, really effectual. B20 has made it clear that growth must be inclusive. And we've been pleased that here in South Africa, our business compatriots have also made growth, inclusiveness to be their goal and priority. Those who have been marginalized, women, youth, persons with disabilities, and the unemployed, must become active and must become beneficial participants in the economy, whether at national level and also whether at global level. This is a matter of social and economic justice, but it is much more than that. It is an opportunity to harness the capabilities, the talents, and the effort of billions of people to unleash the productive potential of humanity. This calls for an approach that invests in people. It must start in the earliest of years of life, establishing through quality foundational education a platform for learning that produces the skills that the economy of tomorrow will need. It calls for accessible, quality healthcare, for affordable social security and focused poverty alleviation measures. And it calls for support for micro, social, and medium enterprises, for entrepreneurs, and for informal businesses to be given an opportunity to grow and to thrive. Workers need to be skilled and reskilled, as well as upskilled, as methods of production change, as new industries emerge, as old industries decline, and as technology advances at an ever-increasing rate. The B20 has said that growth must be sustainable. For the last 2 centuries, the extraordinary growth of global economy has been achieved at the expense of the very resources on which our species relies for survival. We now know that unless we change course, urgently for that matter, as well as resolutely, the conditions of life on this planet will become intolerable. The move to a low-carbon economy cannot be delayed. Indeed, it must be accelerated. As we undertake this transition, we must be sure not to further deepen inequality between and within countries. We cannot disadvantage those countries that bear the least responsibility for climate change, yet are today most vulnerable to its effects. We therefore need a massive increase.
Cyril Ramaphosa is responding to what happened because the United States of America decided not to come. We saw the statement they made by saying that he was running his mouth. A lot happened simply because he invited a lot of people from the global south, and this didn't go down well with these people. That's why always as Africans we are saying that we need to unite. Unity is the only thing that will give us what we want and the respect that we need. People still do not respect the African because they know they have easy access to us. They have already divided us, and it is very easy for them to have their way. That is why Africa, nobody is taking us serious, because they know that if A is not doing the B, B is going to do it. And this is not what we should be fighting for as Africans. People still do not regard our sovereignty because they believe that we are not sovereign. And that is true because we don't hold the narrative. They still sit outside of the continent and decide what they think must happen in Africa. And if you are regulated this way, who will take you serious? People still sit outside of the continent and summon our leaders and they run there. So at the end of the day, the African leader still have a long way to go. And until we all come together as a people to fight for what we need, it will be very difficult. Look at the way they are treating Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. And look at what just happened between Mali and the United States of America when Mali retaliated. We saw that the United States of America withdrew. We always think about the sanctions that they will give to us as if we also do not have anything that these people need. We are presenting ourselves as if we are in need of them, and without them, we cannot survive. And if we continue to be divided this way, it will be very easy for people to have access to control us the way they deem fit. And this is a lesson, like this G20 is a lesson to all of us as Africans to learn, especially our leaders, that there's nobody that regards you, the African. When it comes to us, it seems that we don't exist. That's how these people see us. No matter how these people preach that they are united, they are this, they want us this, and they are taking care of whatever in Africa, and they want us to partner with them. They see us as equal, whatever. It's not true, because their actions are always different from their ways. What they say is not what they preach to the world, because this is the same country that said they are coming to Nigeria to set them free because they believe that there's Christian genocide. But look at what they are doing. That the African do not have the right to take decision on his or her own. They believe that we still need to consult them and still do what they want. If truly we are sovereign, we have every right to decide what we think is best and who we think that we want to partner and move it. So if Africa we don't unite and will continue to be divided this way, people will continue to use us for whatever that they so please. And this is the time for us all to end this and unite, because unity is our strength. The African deserves to be respected, and we can only command this respect by working on the weaknesses that we have and to overcome whatever they have done to us. We sit in the African Union to talk about things that are not of necessity. This is the time for us to channel our energy. The way we are being treated worldwide isn't fair, to the point that they talk to our heads of states anyhow, simply because of how they are able to control our heads of states. The way they are talking to other leaders in Africa, they will then not try to talk to Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso leaders like that, simple because they know what they are doing and they are taking their sovereignty into their own hands. If we continue to be begging for what is rightful ours, we'll continue to beg and nothing will happen. So we need, like Captain Ibrahim Traore always say, that freedom is taking and not giving. So until we are ready to take our freedom, we'll continue to be treated less this way. We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided we fall, and united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world in Africa, Southern Africa, and in South Africa.